Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
That's a terrible drum roll.
Oh! Boy, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday, not Wacky Wednesday, on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined as always with my co-host Sterling Holmes. Yeah, gonna take some getting used to Freaky Friday versus Wacky Wednesday, but it's Kentucky Derby weekend, right? That's why the hat, the pink, you were telling me beforehand. I think it was just coincidence. You're wearing pink.
No, it's not coincidence that I'm wearing pink. I wore pink on purpose. It's for the fillies that run today. The female horses run on the Friday of the Oak, and then Saturday is obviously the Kentucky Derby.
For me, the pink was coincidence. The hat was not. Are you a Derby guy? It sounds like you are.
I enjoy it. It's fun. I'm not like a huge Derby guy. I went one year, had an absolute blast. I went, what was that, 6 years ago, 2018, 7 years ago. Wow. 2018, went for bachelor party, a lot of fun, great time. At that point, it was the rainiest Kentucky Derby in the history of the Kentucky Derby, which at that point was like 145 odd years, something like that. And we still had a great time, had a blast. Love me a mint julep. You know me, I'm a big bourbon guy. I love the Kentucky Derby. It's fun. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm all the way in, but it's enjoyable. I get it. And I think horses are majestic creatures. I love horses. They are, anytime like a horse in like an old Western gets like injured, I have like a visceral reaction of just despair because I think horses are just really damn cool.
I feel the same way. There was this HBO show called Luck, which was about horse racing, gambling around. It had Dustin Hoffman in it. It was going to be an awesome show. I think it was from the creator of Deadwood, and it got canceled because a couple of horses died during the filming. And I was like, you know what? You can't do that. And there's this old quote from Winston Churchill. It's good if you don't put the wrong connotation on it. And it's the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man. Which I think he's saying like riding horses is good for the human spirit, good for the soul.
Way better than the other way around. Switch that one up.
Yeah, let's not. We're gonna get. I don't think we have to deal with the FCC here, but whatever YouTube or we're gonna get canceled. So, but yeah, I'm into it. It's a tradition like none other, and it's just neat that we're all the way in 2025 and people are still enthusiastic about it. It's kind of old timey, and I don't know. I'm not like a super traditional person, but stuff like this I dig. Got a fun show for you guys today. I think we've exhausted talking about the draft class. If you want to hear Sterling's thoughts, you can time travel back to Tuesdays with Sterling. And you and Briscoe, I'm sure, went over. I haven't listened yet. I will. I'm sure you guys went over the. It's been a busy week. Went over the class yesterday. Myself and Patrick Allen on the OG Hour. We went over the class, and then we did half an hour on movies for all our movie fans out there. It's kind of like a bonus podcast we do sometimes. But today I wanted to look at one kind of big picture thought for the Chiefs. It's not a rumor. It's just a thought I had. And then I thought we'd take the AFC West, our rivals in the AFC West, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, and then really the two teams that I would say are the real roadblocks for the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are a bigger roadblock for them in the AFC, but they're also roadblocks for the Chiefs to some extent. They're the teams the Chiefs have to go through. We've seen year in, year out to get to the Super Bowl. Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills. Apologies to the Cincinnati Bengals. 2 years ago, I would have said absolutely. You guys have to make the playoffs to be in consideration for this spot. The Houston Texans are ascending towards this spot, not there yet. So we're going to stick with these 5 teams. Before we jump into this idea, I just want to get your thoughts about the Chiefs running back situation to set the table.
It's fine. I like Rashard Smith. I love them getting some juice in the RB room. I think they're fairly set, although I guess it wouldn't surprise me they brought in a maybe an upgrade because none of the contracts are large. I think as of now, Rashard Smith is the only 100% safe running back on this roster. Again, I'm assuming Isaiah Pacheco is going to be in this roster. I assume that's the case. I assume waiting until the 7th also makes me believe that they think he's going to be more or less the guy he was before the injury. But at the same time, I guess I wouldn't be like beyond shocked if Pacheco was not on this team, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, I would be surprised, but I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's surprising, but am I shocked? No, I could see the path to that being a realistic possibility. Kareem Hunt, I'm like, yeah, he could be in the team as the short yardage guy, but if he's not on the team, would I be shocked? No, I don't think I'd be shocked. Elijah Mitchell's interesting because they gave him maybe the largest contract of any of these guys, but he's coming off of multiple injuries. And Rashard Smith feels like Elijah Mitchell's going to do a lot of those roles. Pass catcher, third down guy, the explosive player in the backfield. I don't know. I guess if it were me, those 4 guys are probably all on the team, which Carson Steele on the practice squad, if I had to make my prediction on May 2nd. But if a guy like Nick Chubb came, I'd probably spell the end of at least one of those guys, and I'd imagine it would be Kareem Hunt. But if it was Mitchell or Pacheco, again, I don't really think anyone is 100% safe, which, by the way, I love that. Joshua says, is Adam auditioning for a Wes Anderson film?
Always, baby. Every day in my life. Just give me the call, Wes, and I'm there. Yeah, this is very oh God, what's Eli Cash? Speaking of Eli's from Royal Tenenbaums, my outfit today. I would say no mescaline though. I'm not on mescaline. So, but Nick Chubb, that's what we're talking about. The idea is Nick Chubb to the Chiefs. It would be pretty cruel, not cool. No, well, maybe cruel if Nick Chubb came into Kansas City and took Kareem Hunt's job once again. I mean, that would be tough break for Kareem Hunt, but you could see it happening. I'm in agreement in Pacheco. I think because Isaiah Pacheco is such a fan favorite because he's got the great bubbly personality. He brings the energy. He plays his guts out. And he had a pretty good run there for a couple seasons. He's a 7th round pick. And I think once you have that label, it's kind of hard to shake it. The team didn't commit that much money or draft capital to get you on the roster. Elijah Mitchell, I really like the explosiveness as a rusher. We honestly haven't seen that much as a receiver. So we've already seen more from Rashard Smith as a receiver. He's only 1 year into his running back experiment, has, I don't know, arguably better vision than Isaiah Pacheco already. I've comped him to Theo Riddick. I don't think he can be an every down back in the NFL. He doesn't need to be. Most players don't need to be. I don't even think the Chiefs need that kind of player necessarily. It's not the way most teams operate in 2025. But man, I don't think Elijah Mitchell is a guarantee to make the roster. Then Kareem Hunt. My issue with Kareem Hunt is, with the two-headed monster of Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, it's a similar problem for different reasons. Kareem Hunt doesn't have the juice to get yards over expected. He's going to wiggle through some holes that a lot of backs won't find, but once he gets through them, he can't pull away. Isaiah Pacheco just can't see the holes, and he runs into contact, and it's exciting to watch this Marion Barber, Brandon Jacobs style warrior out there. He reminds me of the Ultimate Warrior for you wrestling fans out there, but I just don't think his style was ever built to last. And so with them not picking somebody up in the draft during day 1 or day 2, I think they're probably going to be shopping, not desperately, but keeping an eye open, window shopping for a running back. Enter Nick Chubb, again, not a rumor officially, just an idea. So let's run down the history of Nick Chubb. Obviously, he was a second-round pick, has been, arguably along with Derrick Henry, the best pure rusher. I'm not going to call him the best running back in a league that also has CMC and Kamara and Saquon Barkley. But in terms of pure rushers, up there with Henry, up there with Jonathan Taylor. In 2023, he tore his MCL, medial capsule, meniscus, and ACL. Brutal injury. If you didn't see it, I wouldn't recommend going and watching it. He was on the road to recovery last year, trying to like round back into shape. Wasn't fully himself, and you wouldn't expect a player to be 1 year removed from that injury. He broke his foot coincidentally against the Chiefs in 2024. I think it was December, maybe. Does that sound right? And now he's 2 years removed from that serious injury. And I think he has one of the most legendary work ethics in pro football history. Usually, I don't put a lot of stock into the Instagram, like shirtless hulking out during the offseason or whatever. But when you see Nick Chubb work out and he's squatting 600, 700 pounds, and he's just going complete beast mode. And recently I saw some plyometrics where he was like hurdling and jumping over things. He looks pretty damn explosive for any age, let alone 29. So the Browns are reportedly interested in bringing Chubb back, but are they really? Because actions speak louder than words. And what did the Browns do last weekend? Well, they drafted Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State with pretty early draft capital. They drafted Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, who's another fairly good back. They already have Jerome Ford, who's, in terms of complementary backs, one of the more efficient players in the league. So they're saying one thing, they're doing another. I don't think he's going to be back in Cleveland. So this leaves us with the other big rumor, and that's the Bears. When you look at the depth chart, you've got DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson. You could see Nick Chubb coming in and catapulting himself over those two players. But I would ask Nick Chubb, brother, do you really want to go and compete to be fourth best in the NFC North for a team that's probably not going to make the playoffs at this juncture in your career? Or do you want to come into Kansas City and chase that ring and put the exclamation point on your Hall of Fame resume?
And he will say, who's paying me the most amount of money?
He probably will. And I think what happens then is he's still available on May 2nd. If he was going to get a big contract, he would have been signed in March. So I think he's going to have to do this 1 year prove it deal that the Chiefs are very happy to give out with incentives and all of that. And if you're thinking, Ben Johnson has been a great offensive coordinator in Detroit. I don't want to take that away from him. That offensive line is unbelievable. Arguably the best in the league, top three on anybody's list. They have a plethora of weapons, the best running back duo in the league in Sonic and Knuckles. So I still want to see what Ben Johnson has in a different system. I think he's going to be good. Is he a little bit overrated right now? Maybe. We know what Andy Reid is. There's no doubt what Andy Reid is and what Andy Reid can do for a running back, for a player trying to reset his market value. We saw it with Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, it didn't work out for the Patriots, but Andy Reid got Juju Smith-Schuster a payday. So I just want to hear your thoughts on this potential fit, Nick Chubb in Kansas City.
I don't really see it personally after all the plethora of injuries he has sustained. He would be taking the Kareem Hunt short yardage role, or maybe it'd be Pacheco, right? Maybe he's Pacheco in this regard. But even when he was in Cleveland, it was, okay, well, Kareem is still going to be our third down blocking guy. It would be probably, I guess, when I think about it more now, it'd probably be Pacheco or Nick Chubb. I think that's basically how it break down to, because I think you're keeping Kareem for extreme pass protection situations. Rashard Smith, I think, is on the team. He's your best receiving back. Elijah Mitchell, the veteran with some explosiveness still. Nick Chubb, I don't think is any. I don't know how explosive he's going to be. Like he ran for 3.3 yards a carry last year. Now, I know all the injuries, but we talk all the time. I mean, great running backs. I mean, the elite of the elite. You turn 30, are you still elite? The Chiefs are trying to get quicker in the backfield, not older. So I don't think he really fits the mold of what the Chiefs are trying to do. I hope I like Nick Chubb a lot with the work ethic and all that stuff. So I hope, and I actually feel like he's been pretty underrated in regards to the pantheon of what this era of running backs. Everyone always talks about Derek and Saquon, and almost really Nick Chubb has always been forgotten because he put up great numbers when everyone knew the Browns were running the football. Like, it's like when the Chiefs were bad, they go, the ball's going to Jamal. We still can't stop him. The ball was going to Nick Chubb. They still couldn't stop him. I hope he turns it around and he's healthy, but is that a risk you want to take with, you already have the unknowns of Pacheco coming off of injury, not looking the same as he did prior to it. Elijah Mitchell coming off of injury. Do you really want a third running back in that room coming off of injury? I don't know if that's the way the Chiefs would really want to go. I get that. That's more my thought process. Do you really want three unknowns injury-wise in one room? That seems a little risky for my taste.
On the other hand, the Chiefs have been prone to take low-risk, high-upside bets, and they've really shown us with the running back position that they like to take a lot of swings, none of them being big so much anymore. I think when they picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire, what was it, 2020, they've determined since that was out of character for them, and that's not who they want to be anymore. I think they tried it. They got a little high in their own supply, thinking we don't have any other holes. So let's pick a running back. We can make a luxury pick. Almost always a bad move in the NFL because life comes at you fast. You don't have a hole today, you will have a hole tomorrow, especially at those premium positions, right?
I guess my thought process is to, one, I think the name Nick Chubb is going to make people already excited. You say Nick Chubb, you think elite. The issue is he's not been that because of injury. It is unfortunate. It sucks. That's the nature of the NFL, right? So I think the name was doing some of the heavy lifting. Again, I hope the best for Nick Chubb. I hope he goes out and is incredible. I hope the best for him. I just don't know if I see it personally, or maybe I'm just saying, again, it depends on the contract, obviously, right? But I guess for me, I'm sitting here going, where does he make the room better? And is it a guarantee? Because again, Smith is on the roster. Pacheco's probably on the roster. Kareem Hunt is your short yardage guy. And I will also point out, guys, Kareem Hunt looked pretty good when he first got to KC, when he first got back to KC. As the season wore on, we really saw the wear and tear take a toll on him. But that's also because he was basically the only guy left in the room, right? He was getting just an insane workload. What if, and hear me out now, Kareem Hunt is basically just your short yardage situation guy. Maybe he gets 10 touches a game. Maybe he is still in the game as your pass protector. Okay, fine. I'm not saying he's going to be explosive, but will he look more like the guy that first returned to KC versus the end of the year when, the tank was on empty? I do wonder if that's going to be a situation there. Maybe we're underrating what Kareem Hunt could do. I'm not saying it's going to be great, but again, if you break it down into, all right, Rashard Smith is a third of the snaps, Pacheco's a third of the snaps, Kareem Hunt's a third of the snaps. I doubt it breaks down exactly like that, but you keep all those guys fresh, all those guys, ready to go, and maybe Elijah Mitchell is break in case of emergency. I don't know. I guess I could find, and maybe I'm talking myself into this, right? Maybe I'm talking myself into this being successful, but I feel like if I squint, I could feel how and see how those three guys in particular could make up one really damn good running back.
I can't figure out if this is Chiefsy or not, because they have brought in LaShawn McCoy. They have brought in Le'Veon Bell in the past. They've done things like this, but not really lately. I think they have Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. Landing those guys around the same time was a transformative experience, I believe, for Brett Veach and Andy Reid in this era. Damian Williams, too, I think certainly had a little bit of impact there. And even Darrell Williams, who I think very serviceable pass pro receiver, added a lot to the culture. He just an average player, but I think they liked having him around, and he was dirt cheap. So I think that's kind of where they're at. And I'll throw a curveball at you. And that's, what if Elijah Mitchell, the Chiefs medical staff, does a similar thing that they did with Jerick McKinnon, figures out how to keep him healthy and on the field. I think maybe we're projecting a little bit too much receiving work with Elijah Mitchell. He is first and foremost an electric rusher, a guy that plants his foot, gets north and south. And I think he could potentially be 1A in this offense. You could be looking at a situation where it's him and Pacheco and then Brashard Smith coming in for a little screen game magic. Kareem Hunt's the odd man out. So if the Chiefs feel good about Mitchell, they're probably thinking this is a cheap guy who, when he's been on the field, has been one of the more electric rushers in the NFL. Maybe he has more upside, crazy as it sounds. It almost sounds sacrilegious, but at this point in 2025, maybe he has more upside than Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I think the outcome is so vast for Elijah Mitchell, where if he's RB1, I'm not surprised. If he's almost break in case of emergency, I'm not surprised. I looked at the contract. They could move on. It was a $2.5 million contract. If you cut him, I think you've already paid 1.4. I think it's so it's 1.1 million in dead cap. Again, we're talking small amounts of money in the grand scheme of the NFL salary cap. But again, it was at least a decent contract for a guy, a decent gamble, I guess, right? I don't know. The Chiefs have done it before to save a couple million. They did with Dustin Colquitt before, right? They've done these smaller cut downs just in case, even if it saves them a little bit, maybe less than you would expect. But yeah, I think Elijah Mitchell is a guy, and to your point, I think maybe the highest upside and lowest floor, including Brashard Smith, of anyone in this running back room.
Yeah, I'm a big Brashard Smith fan, but I think it's going to take him a little while to figure it out in the pros, particularly pass protection. I think that's the biggest obstacle for him getting on the field, just because he's a lighter guy. 1 year at SMU at running back, previously played wide receiver at Miami. So it might take him a little time. I think they're going to get him manufactured touches because he's just such a weapon that I think Andy Reid will want to get him on the field for 5, 6, 7, 8 snaps a game, just to throw another element to stress defenses. But I don't know that he's going to be ready for a full-time satellite back role in year one. That's probably a more year 2 or 3 type projection for him. So I think we're in agreement. This is a fun, sexy idea. It probably has more legs than something like Odell Beckham. Does that mean it's more likely to happen? I don't know. Probably not so much. I'm trying to think what running backs have been. CJ Spiller. There we go.
Yeah, Thomas Jones. What's Thomas Jones? What are his biceps up to?
Thomas Jones. Well, that's the kind of thing that I think Andy Reid wants to do. He wants Thomas Jones to be the meat shield, and then he wants to get.
No, I hate that. Are you telling me then all of a sudden, there's no Jamal Charles on this team? That was the dumbest thing. I was furious. Yeah, let's give 200 carries to Thomas Jones when you have Jamal Charles right here. Yeah, that's smart. Was that Todd Haley? Thanks, Todd.
That's what the Detroit Lions are doing.
No. Because both are good.
Okay. That's a good argument, but you can see with Jamal Charles how often he got injured, what the calculus was, and we got to limit this guy's touches, A, and B, we've got to give the high value touches to him, the receiving touches and whatnot. So I think we're in agreement there. This is unlikely to happen. Fun to talk about on a Friday in May, though. Let's move into our next segment, and what we're going to do here is we're going to grade some other drafts that aren't the Chiefs drafts. We're going to focus on AFC West rivals, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, and then the true AFC rivals for the Chiefs at this moment. Sorry, Bengals, you haven't been playing well enough. Sorry, Texans, you're not quite in this caliber of team or tier yet. Bills and Ravens.
Quickly, Kevin goes, and we led the league in rushing that year with Thomas. No. I'm not disagreeing. My point is Jamal Charles, look at what he did that year. It was insane. Think of he could have been like historically incredible in the pantheon of running back seasons, even giving him 25% more and taking 25% away from Thomas Jones. I'm not disagreeing. The run game was great that year, but it could have been historical if you just trusted Jamal even more. Not a hate on Thomas Jones because I love the biceps of Thomas Jones. I mean, that was just insane. But I thought the split wasn't quite done the way I would have personally gone about it.
I feel you. Thomas
Jones.
Way,
let's do this. We're going to give a ranking for every single one of these guys. If I think they had a good draft, we can give like 3 air horns. If it's a bad draft, I'll give it a... If it's a fine draft, I will give it a... crickets. Yeah.
I like
that. Work? Okay. We have a game plan.
And I think maybe we'll just carry forward that grading system from here on out. It feels like Freaky Friday. And I think what you're saying on Jamal Charles is he could have had a CJ2K type season. And maybe we were robbed of Jamal Charles going for 2,000 rushing yards. And just, I mean, maybe punching his ticket to Canton because he's probably not going to get in. And I think he's probably going to be stuck as the greatest running back never to get in the Hall of Fame because of the counting stats. Anyway, we could talk about Jamal Charles for an hour or two straight. I'm sure we will this offseason, but right now we're going to talk about the first team on our list, the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to rip through these picks. I'm going to rip through round, pick, player, position, school, and then we're going to use the mock draft, NFL mock draft database to say their consensus big board spot. So where basically the draft industrial complex had this player ranked as a collective heading into last weekend. That will give us a little bit of a sense whether a pick was a reach or a value. So just ripping through these. Round 1, pick 27, Malachi Starks, safety, Georgia. He was number 23 on the consensus. Round 2, pick 59, Mike Green, outside linebacker, edge, Marshall, consensus big board, 17. Round 3, pick 91, Emory Jones Jr., offensive tackle, LSU, 94 on the consensus. Round 4, pick 129, Teddy Buchanan, linebacker, California, 167 on the consensus. Round 5, pick 141, Carson Vinson, guard/tackle, Alabama A&M, consensus big board, 174. Round 6, pick 178, Bilal Cohn, cornerback, Western Michigan. I thought he was going to be a Chief. You know, the Western Michigan addiction of one Brett Veach didn't materialize. He was 195 on the consensus big board. Round 6, pick 186, Tyler Loop, kicker, Arizona. Goodbye, Justin Tucker, right? Tucker. He's 377 on the consensus big board. Round 6, pick 203, LaJonte Wester, wide receiver, Colorado. Travis Hunter's teammate, 289 on the consensus. Round 6. Man, they have a lot of picks every single year. They just milk that comp game, don't they? Pick 6, round 6.
Dude, I gotta stop. You agree with Lauren. Only like the first 4 rounds, or there's one that you really like because this is gonna take 3.5 hours. I'm with Lauren. I'm with you.
Just cutting me off. Okay, we will. I will say this one. Round 6, pick 210, Enos Peebles, defensive tackle, Virginia Tech. Consensus 134. Sterling knows that I would go about as deep as any show possibly could. He's stepping in. He's saying, "Son, you've got a problem. We're not going that deep." I have no problem. It's Friday. People want to get out of here. We will cut it out.
Look, Steve, now do UDFAs.
No, I'm not doing UDF. I'm not doing UDFAs. I'm only doing, and also we might as well do all the picks because most of the teams do not have as many picks as the Ravens. Only the Raiders. Like some of these teams.
I'll do it. Because I can rip them out. I'll go through them.
Okay.
By the way, Kyle, that was a hilarious one. I did not know where you were going with that. I was at the 2013 game at Oakland. That comment got me when I read the very end of that. I did not think you got me in the second half. Not gonna lie.
Got me in the second half. Okay, here's what we'll do. You are no doubt faster than me. I know all these picks. I've been studying them. You rip through them. I'll add a little bit of insight. We grade them together. Perhaps that's the flow we should have agreed on beforehand, but we're figured out on the fly.
Yes. And here's my grade for the Ravens.
Okay.
It's fine to me. I like their first two picks. I didn't think they got any value late. There weren't a lot of guys. I didn't mind Robert Longerbeam in the 6th, but if I'm saying I don't mind a guy in the 6th, I didn't like a lot of the meat in the middle. I thought there was a lot of value that other teams got in those middle rounds. I think that their first and second round draft picks are really, really good. I like Malachi Starks a ton. Mike Green obviously had some of the off the field issues, but the value from 17 to get him at 59 is drastic. That was enough for me to say, okay, those first two rounds, I understand. But from then on, I just was not enamored by this draft from the Ravens. So if it was first and second round only, they crushed it. Third round on, yeah, I just didn't see it.
I'm with you because outside of Enos Peebles, the defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech, they kind of I don't want to say they reached, but they were higher on almost every pick than the consensus board. And that is very un-Ravens-like. Very, very un-Ravens-like. Typically, the Ravens are doing what they did with Malachi Starks and Mike Green throughout the entire draft. Now, the Malachi Starks pick is a sensational pick because you think about how he interfaces with Kyle Hamilton, who I think the Ravens, once they moved Marlon Humphrey into the slot and moved Kyle Hamilton back to free safety last year, he still plays in the slot some when you need him, but that was their best configuration. And Malachi Starks, he can play in the box. He can play back at free safety. I mean, you have him and Kyle Hamilton moving all around. It's going to be like what are those Russian nesting dolls? You're not going to know what the hell is coming at you as an offense. So I love that. Mike Green, this is the Sterling thing. Why not pick him at 27 if you're going to pick him at 59? Because if you're picking him at 59, let's be honest, this is like a PR operation where it's like, if he's not our first round pick, we won't have to wake up on Friday and talk about him at the press conferences and all that shit. And really, they've given us all this lip service about what it means to be a Ravens player and what we learned from Ray Rice and all this stuff. And we're not here to be the arbiters of morality or whatever, but these are serious charges. And I just think picking him where they picked him kind of shows that they didn't take the allegations seriously. They just didn't want the PR storm of picking him in the first round. And they didn't let him, for a guy that's picked in the top 60, not to answer questions at a press conference. I don't know. That's pretty weird.
Yeah. Again, my thought where I always find it funny where if you draft in the first round, the team just gets hammered with, oh my gosh, how could you do that? You draft in the second or third round. It's like, oh, nice. You give him a second chance. Congratulations. Never understand that dichotomy. Happened with Kareem Hunt. The Chiefs couldn't keep him back. If you don't cut him, what are you doing, Chiefs? He goes to the Browns. Oh my gosh, look at the Browns giving Kareem a second chance. Can you believe that? Happens all the time in the NFL. Never will understand it.
It's a good draft. On the strength of those two picks alone, they are both going to be probably immediate starters for the Ravens. But the overall class is just not deep. It's kind of weak. I'm with you. Crickets. Buffalo?
Let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Pick 1, pick 30, Maxwell Harrison, cornerback from Kentucky. The board had him at 34. Pick 2, 41, TJ Sanders, DT from South Carolina. Consensus board had him at 59. Landon Jackson, edge from Arkansas, 72 overall. Big board had him at 53. Deone Walker, 109. Board had him at 95. Jordan Hancock. What about Jordan Foote? No, I'm just kidding. Pick 170, big board 165. Jackson Hawes, round 5, 173. Big board 193. Dorian Strong, board 122. He was picked at 177. Chase Lunt, pick 206. The big board had him at 133. Then Caden Prather, wide receiver from Maryland, 240. Big board 267. Here's where I am on the Bills. That means below average because it was both. It was trombone and crickets. I liked the Harrison one to an extent. I understand it. I really liked Landon Jackson. I like Dorian Strong in the 6th. My goodness, I was a big fan of Dorian Strong, and he went all the way at 170. Good for that. But the rest was a little bit of a
I like Landon Jackson too. For this particular team, I like Ashton Gelati just as much for the Chiefs, but if you traded them places, they wouldn't fit. The Chiefs like that power run setting edge that has inside, outside versatility. In Buffalo, what do they like? They have AJ Epinesa. They have Gregory Rousseau. They like these long, these kind of like long edges that are just a little bit of a different archetype. So he's a great fit. TJ Sanders, I like, but is he really 20 picks better than Omar Norman Lott? I personally don't think so. I think with Maxwell Harrison, is he the fastest corner in the draft? Yes, he is. But little bit of a reach probably. I thought they were better. I thought Ravel and some of these other guys, Amos on the board, I liked them better. They're again with Deion Walker, the defensive tackle for Kentucky. I thought there were better options on the board. Ty Robinson from Nebraska, the farmer kid from Florida State. This is just kind of a trend with them. I think like Dorian Strong was a good pick. But the overall thing here, the theme of this draft was defense. They could not stop the Chiefs. They could not get off the field. It cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. I think it's been a recurring theme with them. Their secondary has been trash. Their defensive line, while not bad, just hasn't been able to generate big plays in big spots. So they went entirely defense. General manager Brandon Beane, it's on the radio on Monday, and he takes some heat for not giving Josh Allen any weapons outside of a 7th round receiver. Who's really just a drunken dart throw at that point. And he was pretty defiant. He said defense is what matters. And I think that the calculus with him is Josh Allen is good enough to get us to the Super Bowl with the weapons we have, with James Cook and the tight ends and the receivers. But you look at the shopping list that the Chiefs had, where they strengthened their defense just as much as the Bills. And they peppered in some nice treats, some very nice treats for Patrick Mahomes. And this draft just doesn't compare.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the game plan that the Bills had going into it of mostly defense. Because, yeah, you're right. If you have an MVP caliber quarterback, what you do is you spend it on other spots. That's why when everyone goes, well, Caleb Williams should win the MVP this year because look at all the guys he has around him. That's the opposite of what an MVP is, you dolts. If he's an MVP, he elevates everyone. Not everyone else around him elevates him. Am I wrong? Am I taking crazy pills?
No, I'm just trying not to be too harsh on this class. I do like Jackson Hawes, the tight end out of Georgia Tech. They've been doing this 6 lineman thing, and I think he could kind of be an extra tackle that can actually catch the ball to allow them to go 13 personnel with better blocking. So they are thinking a little bit about what really worked for them offensively, but it just, none of these guys on offense move the needle whatsoever.
Let's get into the Broncos. Pick 20, Jedi Barron, quarterback from Texas. Big board had him at 16. Pick 60 overall, round 2. RJ Harvey, RB from Central Florida. Big board had him at 110. Round 3, pick 74, Pat Bryant. Big board had him at 162. Round 3, pick 101, Savion Jones. Big board 142. Round 4, pick 134, Q Robinson. Big board 189. Round 6, pick 216, Jeremy Crawshaw. He was a punter, so little top punter, but 341, however you want to view that. Round 7, pick 241, Caleb Lawner, tight end. He was actually not ranked, it looked like. He was a basketball player with only 57 college football snaps. I know the big board didn't like him, but do I like this pick, or do I like this draft? also fine to me. I know the big board didn't like this draft by the Broncos. I think Barron's going to be an absolute stud. Putting him with Pat Surtain feels like, oh my gosh, no fly zone back there with those two CBs. I did like Savion Jones personally from LSU. I think it was a lot higher than obviously a lot of people thought he was going to go, but overall, I like Savion Jones. Q Robinson, again, a developmental edge rusher. I didn't mind. Again, a lot earlier than I expected, but if you're telling me you got a top end corner, two solid pass rushers, again, some questions with them as far as obviously they're not going to be top of the line, but at least there's a lot of potential with those two guys. You got a running back and a wide receiver, again, way earlier than expected. I thought the most surprising one was Pat Bryant. But they overdrafted a lot of guys, but I also understood where they were coming from and going to. I think the defensive players I like, but offensively I have some questions.
I'm in the same boat. I'm probably not as kind on the defensive side either. I will say Sean Payton has a track record of marching to his own beat and having a fair amount of success with it, but sometimes he gets a little over his skis. I think Pat Bryant, from the wide receiver from Illinois, is one of the worst picks of the entire draft. Just unexplainable, inexcusable. It's kind of the bizarro Jalen Royals pick, where Jalen Royals was like a top 75 player that went in, actually later than this, went in the fifth round, right? Fourth round, 133.
Fourth round.
133. So this guy is 162 on the consensus big board, goes 74. Who else wanted Pat Bryant that early? And we've joked around about Sean Payton and his comps when he compared Bo Nix to Patrick Mahomes. Well, this one is almost as rich. He compared Pat Bryant to Michael Thomas. I think he's more of little Jordan Humphreys, kind of a weird obsession that Sean Payton has had over the years, just a player like, why is this guy around? So I'm not as high on Savion Jones as you are, but he does have inside-outside versatility. Q Robinson could barely get on the field outside of special teams for Alabama, but he does pop when you watch him. And I think that's what the Broncos want. They want 8, 9, 10 guys coming at you in waves for the defensive line with Nick Benito and Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers and all of them. RJ Harvey, nice player. I think he's going to be good. If you're in a fantasy draft, I would take him. He's gonna be good. However, do you need to pick him that much earlier than Bashal Tutin, that much earlier than DJ Giddens, guys that I probably on my board, on my imaginary board, that I like better than RJ Harvey? I just think that was too early. One of the things you have to do is not force the issue. You have to react to what the draft is giving you. I feel like they didn't do that. Jahdae Barron is going to be like a Trent McDuffie type player. And you mentioned Pat Surtain, but they also have Riley Moss back there. That is going to be one of the best corner. It could be the best corner room in the NFL, bar none. I'm probably a little lower on this draft than you. The one thing we have to say about Caleb Lawner, the tight end from Utah, who only had 4 catches, the Jimmy Graham history with Sean Payton, you really have to give Sean Payton the benefit of the doubt, grabbing a basketball player that late in the draft.
Yeah. Sean Payton's his own guy. He's unique. That's why I went a little less harsh on Denver, because he strays, but it has worked in the past for him. Raiders, pick 6, Ashton Jeanty. You can actually check out a couple of the interviews I had with Ashton Jeanty, one before he got drafted and one after he got drafted on Stacking the Box. Shameless plug. Pick 6, big board 5, pick 58, Jack Beck, wide receiver from TCU, and the big board had him at 72. Darian Porter, cornerback from Iowa State, 68, big board 68. Pick 98, Caleb Rogers. Here is I'm reaching. Pick 98 in the big board was 182. Charles Grant, pick 99, big board 87. Dante Thornton Jr., wide receiver from Tennessee, pick 108, big board 171. At pick 135, Tonka Hemingway, great name. Big board 222, round 6, pick 180. JJP, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, big board had him at 156. Pick 213, I think it's Mellot or Malo, quarterback / wide receiver, going to be wide receiver from Montana.
I think it's Mellot.
Malott, wide receiver, Montana State. Pick 215, Cam Miller, quarterback, North Dakota State. 251 on Dane Brugler's Beast. Then pick 22, Cody Lindenberg, linebacker from Minnesota. Big board 247. I am gonna, man.
I'm an air horn guy on this one.
I am a one air horn, not three. I'm a one air horn man because I loved Ashton Genty pick. Loved that pick, especially with Pete Carroll. I like the Jack Beck pick. Okay. I really like the Darian Porter pick. I understand he's older. I get only one real year at cornerback with like an extended look, but dude is a physical freak, all the traits, all the tools. I like that at 68. Getting that in round 3, again, I think Charles Grant was also one of the more intriguing prospects in this draft from William and Mary. Guard tackle, kind of, they don't really know 100% yet what he's going to be in the NFL. But I liked a good amount of what the Raiders did overall. Again, some of the big board picks, they don't line up completely with what I think, maybe how I feel overall. But I thought the Raiders did a pretty damn good job for the most part.
I love this draft, and maybe it's just because some of my guys coming into the draft were Darian Porter is one of the players I was the highest on, and he's very contingent on fit. But who's the guy that found and developed Tyreek Woolen? His new head coach, Pete Carroll. So you think about this 6'3", 6'4" pterodactyl who's raw, limited experience at the position, who can mold him into the right kind of player. It's this head coach. It's this exact head coach. So scheme fit, system fit, could not be better. Jack Besh, I love. You think about imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. You think about what the Chiefs do in the short yardage jack game with Travis Kelce, who is slowing down, but a few years back, Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice working together, really stressed and stretched defenses. Now you think about Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp at their best and the way they made beautiful music together. Jack Besh and Brock Bowers can do a little bit of that together. I think Jack Besh might be the most underrated wide receiver. I would have taken him ahead of Luther Burden. That's how high I am on him. The player, the kid, he's bust proof. I just think he's bust proof. He's going to be a very good player. Deontay Thornton Jr., I think, is an MVS field stretcher type, going to be a good player for a 4th round pick outside the top 100. I don't know much about Tonka Hemingway, but my God, I think that's the best name in the draft. Just sensational name. JJ Pegas, one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he is Colin Saunders is my comp for him. And I think they'll use him as a fullback. And in short yardage situations at Ole Miss, he was converting like crazy. And then the last player I want to hit on, I don't have to hit on Ashton Genty. We all know what he is. We all know what Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going to do with him. But this is really where the Tom Brady influence comes in with Tommy Malott, former quarterback from Montana State. They're turning into a wide receiver. This is the most Julian Edelman pick of all time. I have to say, I actually love it when you consider the people involved in this. And even the history between Pete Carroll and Tom Brady. I'm a 3 air. I even like Cody Lindenberg, the linebacker there. I'm a 3 air horn guy in this draft. It was top 5 draft class for me.
Yeah, I give it 1 single air horn, but maybe I can give it 1.5. Here we go. Wait. There we go.
There you go.
There's the 1.5 air horns for the Raiders. Congratulations. Chargers, round 1, pick 22, Amarian Hampton, big board, 22. Pick 55, Trey Harris, wide receiver, Ole Miss, big board, 63. Pick 86, Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle from Oregon, big board, 111. Kyle Kennard, DN from South Carolina, pick 125, big board, 89. Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver from Auburn, 158, big board, 218. Oronde Gadsden, the second, great name. Tight end Syracuse, pick 165, big board 166. Branson Taylor, pick 189, big board 315. Tackle from Pittsburgh, pick 214. RJ Mickens, safety from Clemson, big board 163. Pick 256. Treguezi Bridges, cornerback safety combo from Florida, big board 666. Wow. This one for me, Kind of the same as the Raiders. It's 1.5 maybe.
I'm lower on it than you. I'll give my reasoning. I want to hear your thoughts on why it's a 1.5 air horn, but I have my thoughts on why it's probably crickets at best for me.
I absolutely loved the Amarion Hampton pick. I loved it. I understand running back first round, all that stuff. But with Harbaugh in that offense, I get you brought in Najee Harris, all that stuff. Najee Harris is fine. He is a bell cow. But with the Steelers, they were actually more efficient with Jalen Warren. They need that speed guy. Amarion Hampton can be that guy. We know they're going to run the rock a ton. They were so effective and efficient when J.K. Dobbins was there, healthy, and just running away from teams, right? I think Amarion Hampton can be that J.K. Dobbins, but do you want him every down? You split him with that with Najee Harris. I like that a lot. I was a huge fan. That first-round draft pick made a lot of sense to me. I like Trey Harris. That was my thought. Wide receiver from Ole Miss. Going into the draft, I really liked him. They needed to get a wide receiver. They got a wide receiver. Him, Ladd McConkey. They brought back Mike Williams, who's only had success in L.A. We'll see if he reverts back to the Mike Williams of old after his previous few stops. But I like Trey Harris coupled with Ladd McConkey. I guess if Mike Williams doesn't work out, Trey Harris kind of is that replacement, if you will. Yeah, I get some of the later round draft picks if you aren't a fan. I guess for me, I was such a big fan of those top two. Kyle Kennard in the 4th. Obviously, they need to pick up another edge rusher. Not a bad pick there. Got some value, especially with what Bosa moved on. Forget where he ended up going. He was going to go to San Fran with his brother. Where did he end up going? I forget where he –
Buffalo.
He ended up going to Buffalo. So they needed another edge rusher. I thought overall – I liked what the Chargers did, and overall, I really do think the AFC West, it pains me to say it, as a whole, had a really good draft. I think the AFC West really nailed this draft as a whole, and I hate doing it because that means the Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers didn't bleep up.
I'm just nowhere near as high on this draft, and I think it might come down to how we see Amarion Hampton differently. For me, I take Trevion Henderson over Amarion Hampton 10 times out of 10. But, you know, I'm very I have a preference, a strong preference. I lean hard towards the Aaron Joneses, the Jahmyr Gibbses, the Jamal Charles archetype. I like that player. I like the Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, pass catching, running backs that maybe aren't built to be 30 touch a game guys. I don't think any running back, including Derrick Henry, should get 30 touches a game. That's just the way I see offensive football. So I think that was a reach when you had guys like Trevion Henderson, who I like better, but Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson, who I think are similar players. You could have gotten them later. I did not like the value there. A lot of people are kind of lumping him kind of as 1B to Ashton Genty. I think that's insane. Trey Harris, a fine player. Maybe this is me getting burned on Jonathan Mingo with the Ole Miss, you know, and trying to find the next like AJ Brown or DK Metcalf. I just would have preferred Kyle Williams there or Jalen Noel there. I think there were better receivers on the board. Maybe not guys that the Chargers like. I think they were probably thinking, we want a bigger body. We want to block for the run. That Greg Roman and Harbaugh are just so, even with Justin Herbert, who's a top 8 quarterback, they're just so focused on the run. It's kind of like comical to me. I like Jamari Caldwell, the defensive tackle. I really wanted the Chiefs to get an Oregon defensive lineman. They had 3 stabs at it. Didn't get Derek Harmon, didn't get Jordan Birch. And then they didn't get this guy who thinks going to be a good run plugger. No one else really excites me. RJ Mickens is okay. Maybe Oronde Gaston, you could say, ends up being the most underrated tight end in this class and paves out a decent career for himself. But what's the ceiling there? And then, you know, Amarion Hampton, I agree with you. Najee Harris doesn't preclude you from taking another, running back. Shouldn't. I mean, this is a short-term marriage, and he's just another body for insurance. I just don't like the value. I can't get on board. So I'm going crickets.
That's fair. And I get 22 maybe a little higher than I would have loved for Amari and Hampton? Sure, but I just think the fit makes so much sense. And as Lauren Shank says in the chat, great call. First round running back is usually a bad idea. A running back cannot bail out a bad offensive line, but LA has a well above offensive line. It's a great call. Like, that's why I'm intrigued with Ashton Genty, maybe even as a rookie. Like, can he bail out a non-great offensive line? I think Ashton Genty, again, is different. I think he's a dude. But you add Amari and Hampton to an already good offensive line, especially at phenomenal at the tackles. You can get outside behind those big boys. I mean, that's why I said I think the Chargers did a pretty darn good job. I think every single team, like, you look at the draft picks and some of the guys, like Genty to the Raiders, it makes sense. They're trying to be physical. With Pete Carroll, Marion Hampton to the Chargers makes sense because we saw how much better they were when they had a healthy, explosive running back like J.K. Dobbins. Like, the Broncos, where do they thrive? In the secondary. Let's just triple down and get at the time, maybe the best cornerback on the board. Like, it's hard because I want to make fun of, like, where's the Clelin Ferrell? Like, come on, Raiders. I'm used to you doing something dumb here. Where's, like Quentin Johnston for like, where are these guys? What's the AFC West doing? Making, at least, again, they've not played a snap. Maybe we'll find out all these guys are bums. But as of right now, and what my best estimation is, I think all 4 teams of the AFC West did a pretty damn good job. I would go Chiefs 1. I would go Raiders 2, Chargers 3, Broncos 4. But I think all 4 are probably in the top 15 overall, maybe even bordering top 10.
I'm with you. I'm going to call the Raiders and Chiefs a tie, though. I'm going to say they're tied, Chargers next, Broncos last. And then if we're talking about outside of the AFC West, these other 2 teams that we went through, actually, if you look at Baltimore, they have a couple guys that scare me. Does Mike Green scare me? Absolutely, he scares me. Does the versatility that Malachi Starks gives them back there in their back sevens? Yeah, that's scary as well. And on every other draft, there's a player that scares me. I mean, I said what I said about Hampton, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a monster in that system. You're right about the secondary there in Denver, and we know how high I am on the Raiders. But if you look at Buffalo, who's the guy that kind of like tilts things in Buffalo's advantage at any moment? I just don't see the huge difference maker in that draft class. I think that's why you gave them the crickets, and I think that's why, actually, when I probably like their class top to bottom better than the Broncos, I'm probably actually seeing the Broncos draft class make more of a difference immediately, and maybe even like top level than the Bills.
Yeah. I liked Arizona, I think, the best of any team, by the way. I loved Arizona's draft. I thought they nailed it.
Walter Nolan, and they didn't do much on offense, so Kyler Murray is probably sitting there saying, but Jonathan Gannon's happy.
Well, you got Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, and I liked they got 2 cornerbacks I liked, but Denzel Burke in the 5th from Ohio State, I thought was a nice value there. Overall, I was a big fan of what the Cardinals did. I think that was maybe my favorite draft. I think my least favorite was the Vikings. Tough. They only had 5 draft picks, but I thought they reached in the first round. You have 5 draft picks, and your first draft pick is a interior offensive lineman that was, in my opinion, a huge reach. Again, we'll find out. Maybe he ends up being a stud, and they fixed a spot, fixed a hole. It's just a little perplexing to me personally.
I want to give a shout out to the Panthers. Thought they had a nice draft. I thought the Seahawks had a really intriguing draft as well, with all these other quarterbacks getting picked that are unlikely to amount to anything. Jalen Milroe, the kid from Alabama, he's really intriguing to me. And if you think about who his offensive coordinator is, he's the guy, Kubiak, who had Taysom Hill last year. So are they going to use him a little bit like Taysom Hill? What if he ends up being the Jalen Hurts of this class or the Taysom Hill of this class, and everybody else but Cam Ward is a bust? That's going to look like a pretty good pick. But I really like Elijah Arroyo for you guys that are playing fantasy football out there, the tight end from Miami. I think he'll be a good pick for it. All right. Let's get us out of here, Sterling. What's spinning for you?
Blackberry Smoke. What is it? 2 country for rock music, 2 rock for country music. I think that's their slogan, something along those lines. It's Southern rock. It's fun. It's good. Listen to some Blackberry Smoke.
It's a little bit of what, Allman Brothers, Skinner territory, that kind of sound.
Yeah, a little like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm into it. I'm gonna have to check it out. I've been on a big Kinks kick. This is Muswell Hillbillies, has one of my favorite songs of all time on it, 20th Century Man. I just love the Kinks. I mean, when people ask me what my favorite classic rock bands are, Zeppelin is what I say first. And of course, everybody loves the Beatles, everybody loves the Stones, but for me, my number 2 is the Kinks. I just think they are the most underrated band in music history. If you haven't checked out their it's not discography, their album portfolio, it is very deep and very fun and very weird at times, but can't go wrong with the Kinks. So highly recommended. That's all we've got for you guys on this Friday. Thanks to chat. You guys always keep us going, always bring it. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's a couple ways you can help our community grow. First off, subscribe here on YouTube, and while you're at it, mash that like button. That helps us out. Audio listeners, either on Spotify or Apple, consider giving us a 5-star review. That really helps us soar up the search there on those platforms. And we want to make sure that people see and find Arrowhead Addict and join our wonderful community. And then on Apple, leave a 5-star review, ask a question, and Patrick Allen on the OG Hour will get to that question on the air, and we'll take an in-depth look at what you want to know.
Final thing, sorry, I just realized this. I apologize, Bess. Didn't mean to cut you off there. I wrapped up a really good interview with Alex Smith. It's on Stacking the Box right now, which Stacking the Box, Arrowhead Addict, all in partnership under Fansided. So all one happy fam right there. Check it out, please, if you guys wouldn't mind. I had a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy it a lot. It's with Alex Smith. We're talking about his journey when he came back to the NFL, his injury. We talk about what it was like mentoring his successor. Obviously, like you're having a great year. You're taking the Chiefs to the playoffs, and they draft a quarterback. You know, what's going through your mind? He gave some very interesting thoughts on that. So a lot of fun interviewing Alex Smith. So the more, likes and shares and comments on the Alex Smith video, obviously the more great players we keep coming in through the pipeline. I mentioned the Ashton Genty one. That's also up there as well, both prior to and after he got drafted. So again, if you guys would just like, subscribe, review, whatever, it does help us a lot getting these great guests.
Love the shout out. And Alex Smith, just a phenomenal human being. If someone doesn't like and wasn't rooting for Alex Smith as a player and a person, that's a huge red flag to me. So great call there. Definitely check that out. And lastly here, the mothership, Matt Connor and those guys always bring it. It's how I often start my morning to make sure I'm up on all things Chiefs. Join us live next Friday at 3 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.